Hey, this is Tony Robbins. Listen, thanks for joining me for this podcast. Today, I'm really excited for you because whenever you talk about how do you really dominate in the marketplace, most people are taught that you get into business and you fight for competitive advantage. You try to battle for some portion of the market share. But I'm here to tell you that's totally unsustainable. If I had tried to just compete for market share in the personal development business, it's a pretty small market. But what I really wanted to do is I wanted to affect a much larger audience. And I looked for ways to deliver that in ways that had never been delivered before. So I believe if you want an advantage in business, if you do what everybody else does and you do it better than everybody else, you get a tiny competitive advantage. But if you do something no one else is doing in your space, you get a geometric advantage. And I can tell you, whenever I'm talking to people in my business mastery seminars, one of the first questions I ask them is, what business are you in? And people usually give me an answer like, well, I have a restaurant and a catering service. Or, we have a CRM system that's superior than anyone else in the world. And whenever they say these things, they usually, or I'm a lawyer, or I do, I wholesale cars. And usually they describe the process of what they do, not the benefit of what they do, which is the first place everybody's got to start. If you can't communicate what you're doing, what your company is in a way that creates curiosity and is compelling, if it's not compelling for you, first of all, it's not going to be compelling for anybody else. And what will make your business more compelling is if you also maybe ask yourself another question, which is, what business do you need to be in? Instead of saying I'm in the restaurant business, maybe I'm in the business of creating environments where magnificent food and sensual desires are met for every client. I don't know, I'm making it up. The point of the matter is you need to be able to create something that's truly compelling, but you also want to say, where can I compete where no one else is competing? My dear friend Mark Benioff practiced what this interview is all about, which is the blue ocean strategy. Mark came to my seminar, 15 years ago, and he'd been to 3 Unleash the Power Within seminars in a row. And he said, you've pushed me over the edge. I'm going to leave my current job and I'm going to start this company called Salesforce.com. And I want you help me to start it. And we're going to change the business world. We're going to do $100 million in business. Well, today I tease Mark about it. 15 years later, he's going to do about $7 billion, I believe, this year, on his way to $10 billion very quickly thereafter. It's been quite a growth patch. But part of that is he opened up an area where no one else was competing. There was not a giant focus on this idea of really living in the cloud, putting your business in the cloud. It seemed so insecure. It seemed something businesses wouldn't even imagine back in those days. But Mark found that space and became the king of that space. And as a result, he dominates at this stage. So you're going to get a chance to hear an interview with the woman who created the blue ocean strategy as a concept. It's certainly been around, but she put the concept on it. I think the concept understood fully can move any business person towards greater success. And her name is Renee Mauborgne. Her colleagues not with her also wrote the book with her, W. Chan Kim. But I think what you're going to find out is blue oceans are really where demand is created rather than fought for. If you're in a red ocean, it's one where there's a lot of competition and you're fighting for a little bit. So think of, Netflix. They blew up Blockbuster because they went after a different environment. Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix for $50 million early in its career. They were doing $3 billion at Blockbuster at the time. And they thought, we can do this ourselves. They didn't understand. These people within a few years had rented their first billionth video and they still didn't pay attention to them. They didn't understand these people were opening up a blue ocean versus working in the old red ocean. Amazon did it with brick and mortar shopping. Uber's done it with taxi cabs. So I think you're going to really, really enjoy this. And our hostess for this session is Anna Jorg. She's going to do the interview and she's going to really give you an understanding of some of the most powerful insights in this best-selling book, Blue Ocean, the strategies you can use right away. And listen, be sure for the end, because I think you're going to find there's some really practical ways for you to start looking at this and creating what I call a strategy canvas, something that can really allow you to see where you are in the marketplace, how you compete. Again, whether you're an army of 10,000 employees or whether you're a business that's got 2 people, you still need to be able to grow your business by, again, innovating the marketplace in which you enter. So enjoy the podcast, and I look forward to hearing from some of you soon.
Many of us have been taught to believe that in business, success and prosperity come by edging the competition out, fighting for the competitive advantage, battling it out for market share, and constantly trying to find new ways to differentiate and distinguish ourselves. But is this really the way to create sustainable, profitable growth? In the international best-selling book, Blue Ocean Strategy, Renee Mauborgne and her colleague W. Chan Kim liken cutthroat competition to a red ocean of rivals fighting over an ever-shrinking profit pool. By examining 150 strategic business moves spanning over 100 years across 30 industries, the authors discovered that real, lasting success does not come from fighting the competition, but from creating blue oceans, that is, untapped new market spaces that are primed for growth. These strategic moves, which the authors refer to as value innovation, yield substantial leaps in value that have the power to make the competition irrelevant. Here to speak more about the Blue Ocean strategy and how you can use it to chart a new path towards success is Renee Mauborgne, professor at INSEAD and co-director of the INSEAD Blue Ocean Strategy Institute, and author of best-selling book Blue Ocean Strategy, which has sold over 3.5 million copies across 5 continents and was recently updated and expanded in 2015. Renee, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Anna.
I want to start just by asking the basic concept. What is a blue ocean strategy? How is it different from traditional competitive strategy?
That's a great opening question. Blue Ocean Strategy is all about how can any company or organization break out of that red ocean of bloody competition or existing industries to create uncontested market space and, as you articulate, make the competition irrelevant. And the way that it does that is by simultaneously pursuing both differentiation and low cost. The beauty of that is it creates a huge win for the market. When you're differentiating low cost, you have fans, not customers, but it creates strong, profitable growth for the company. So it's about creating that win-win. And I think the way that it principally differs, and you said it very well in your introduction as well, is that traditionally strategy has always been thinking about the competition, right? Competition-based strategies. So when companies think about what they want to do, they focus on benchmarking the competition and striving to be better than them. But the more they look to the competition ends up setting their strategic agenda. And the ironic impact of that is that the more you look to the competition, the more you end up looking like the competition, in effect achieving the exact opposite of your intention, which is you commoditize yourself and your industry. When that happens, you have the exact opposite result of Blue Ocean Strategy, which is your differentiation goes down, you look like the competition, but because you're matching every move, your cost structure goes up. And so that was what we see, what we call red ocean strategy or competitive strategy doing. Blue ocean is, of course, the opposite, not looking to competition, but looking to make it irrelevant. So that would be the key differentiators between the two.
Great. So just to help illustrate, can you give us some examples of red and blue ocean companies? And specifically in 2016, are there any companies out there now that are either in the news or we're just hearing about that you're seeing carve out new markets?
You know, our book, and by the way, the database, of course, has grown well beyond 150 moves about companies and organizations creating blue oceans of new market space. And, you know, some very classic ones I think anyone can relate to is just what Cirque du Soleil did in the circus industry, creating a whole new market space and lifting the price point of that industry up. Or what Curves had done in the fitness industry, again, another red ocean industry, and carved out a new market space of fitness for women in that industry. Today, if you go to the Blue Ocean Strategy blog, we're doing some really exciting things, is that Blue Ocean Strategy has had such an uptake in the world. There are many companies that have been applying those ideas systematically to their industries. And we are interviewing people that have applied the ideas and what kind of turnarounds they have. So in an upcoming blog we're going to be talking to, I think it's Aurora Medical, it's Aurora Medical Center in Wisconsin. And they've actually been applying it to healthcare, and they've been receiving 350% increase in their margins after doing this and creating all new customers. So our website has a whole slew of examples, but even recently, if you look at what Dry Bar is doing in the beauty industry, I think that's a great example of a company carving out new market space in the hair salon industry. So they're all over, they're bound, and our website, blueoceanstrategy.com, has even more examples people can learn from.
Great. So that's a great example of how it spans across multiple industries. What about different sizes? So is it applicable to small and medium-sized companies, not just large ones?
You know, It absolutely is. If you look at our book, right, and you look at our database, Cirque du Soleil started with a bunch of circus performers. Curve started with a husband and wife small team. A company called JCDecaux, which is today the largest outdoor advertiser in the world. You'll see their banner in all major airports and city centers. They started as a small family business. But the difference is when you pursue differentiation, low cost, and you stop benchmarking the competition, you set yourself up for strong growth because you don't have customers, you have fans, and you have a huge profit engine, which gives you the resources to hire the talent and to invest in growth in your industry. Many small, medium-sized businesses are so focused with their limited resources on surviving because they're playing that competitive game where they can't stand apart and they can't drop their costs fast enough. They don't have any excess slack to create growth. Blue Ocean Strategy creates the slack to grow in a really powerful, compelling way. The only difference is you don't stay small and medium very long. You start to grow very fast, which I think is exciting. So my answer to you is a resounding 100% yes. And in fact, we would argue that the only way for small and businesses to transit from small and medium size to the larger enterprises, the next Apples, the next Facebooks of the world, the next JCDecaux or Curves, is to think about how they can be differentiated and low cost. Just simply benchmarking the competition, being a little better and a little less, I don't see that as a way they're going to win against low-cost imports that are flooding our markets, nor against established companies with their deeper resource pockets. So we're really excited about what it can do for small and mid-sized companies.
Great. So what about social media? How does the increasing prevalence of social media impact Blue Ocean Strategy? Because that's something that's changing every day.
Social media is something that is making Blue Ocean Strategy, in our opinion, even more relevant than ever. And it's another exciting opportunity for small and mid-sized businesses. And why? Think about it. There's social networks, blogs, microblogs, video sharing. All of these new technologies do one thing. They shift the power of voice, influence, and credibility from an organization to the individual. That means the individual today, as we know, has a global megaphone to the world. And the ability, how do you go and not become a victim of that reality, but a victor, is you need to stand out as never before. If I stand out as never before, social media puts the wind behind me. And what happens is I start getting 5-star ratings. People start blogging about me. People recommend me. They give me thumbs up. And they start creating fan videos of me that go on YouTube, and it can go viral. So you can, as long as you stand apart, you can leverage all of that. You can't really hide as an organization anymore being just a me too, and you cannot overmarket yourself. So if I'm a small and mid-sized business, I really want to focus on how do I create a blue ocean, be different and low cost, and know that by being small and medium sized, I have actually more flexibility and more entrepreneurial natural instinct within me than a large bureaucratic company. And then in doing that, start creating that blue ocean and then start to leverage the power of social media to get the world to hear about me. So it's a tool you can leverage if you're different, and it's a tool that makes being different more important than ever. If you're not different, you don't stand out, you're going to get lost in the crowd, or even worse, the world's going to report on how ordinary or poor you are. So Blue Ocean's going to matter more and more in the future there.
Yeah, in social media in particular, I think a lot of small businesses struggle not just with the resources and the time to execute on any strategies they might have, but they don't know what their message is. But that's great that, it's further confirmation that if you are differentiated already in the core and the nature of who you are as a business, it makes social media so much easier to execute.
Well, you make a really good point there, though, Anna. I'm not talking about you develop a social media strategy, because small business might have limited resources. Maybe you're blessed. You've got some young people that are really talented and can do this, but maybe you're not. I'm really concerned about, am I creating a product and service worthy of people giving me 5 stars? Am I creating one worthy of people speaking about me? Because if I am going to get some influencers out there or some people in the local media to come, and I'm going to give them a free sample of my thing. And I'm going to say, try it. And if you love me, do me a favor. Can you give me a rating on this website? Can you write about me? You don't want to do it because you're going to use social media. I think there's a wrong understanding. I'm not saying small and medium size. I'm not saying they shouldn't. But what we are saying is create something worthy. How much can I, as one small organization, influence the world through social media? Maybe limited, but if I create a great product and service, I can get everyone else to talk about me. That should be the objective. How do I make myself worthy of the world wanting to talk about me and celebrate me? So I've got to focus fundamentally on making my product and service stand apart and have lower costs. And when I do, that's the ultimate engine for 5-star ratings, for people wanting to blog about you and put your product and service in front of people. You can, if I started Dry Bar, I would invite the free press over and say, hey, I'll give you a free blow dry. What does it cost me? 1 day of lost revenues or 20 lost blow dries? But in return, if you think it's great, could you drop us a mention? Can you do something? And if not, you don't need to say anything. And then you can also test the proof of the quality of what you're doing. But I guess my goal would be not that we need to tell the world how great we are, create a product and service, put it in the hands of a few, and let them start doing it. And that should be our objective with leveraging the power of social media, not us talking, but getting the world to talk about us.
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense. In other words, get brand advocates. And Tony talks about that a lot too when he talks about creating raving fan customers, because those are the ones that you're going to have for life. If you just have satisfied customers, they will leave you when the next best thing comes along.
And Blue Ocean Strategy does that. People look for Cirque du Soleil. When can I go despite the price of the ticket? I can't tell you how many executives I know that were living in Europe and they said, this was 10 years ago when Starbucks was nowhere around the world yet. They'd say, oh, I can't wait. I asked my driver to tell me where the closest Starbucks is. People search these companies out. And that's what you want to do. You want, what would it take for us to make the competition irrelevant? The challenge we give companies is, what would it take to win the massive buyers with no marketing? When I give that challenge, what does that mean? I'm not leveraging marketing. I have to be so good. People want to talk about me. When you ask that question, you're forcing people to think in a fundamentally different way in their mindset, because simply benchmarking the competition being 5 point better is not going to make that happen. And so you start a new process of thinking. That's what Blue Ocean does. It gives you different sets of questions so that those questions lead you to think in different ways and get different answers that let you see the world in new opportunities.
So it sounds like you're almost reinventing your business from scratch. And that kind of brings me to the next question about, is it necessary to acquire new talent and literally have fresh minds in your business in order to create a blue ocean? Or, are people who are really accustomed to competing in a red ocean, are they capable of creating a blue ocean offering?
We believe that everyone is capable of creating a blue ocean. Everyone has innate creativity. They often just don't know how to tap it, or they have a fear to tap it. They lack the confidence. But the whole premise of Blue Ocean Strategy is it's filled with, empowers people with tools and frameworks. And what we wanted to do is, how do we take this process of creating new markets from a black box and unknowable to giving simple tools and frameworks that anyone can use to think differently. And so, yes, anyone can. That's the whole premise of Blue Ocean Strategy. And we would really encourage anyone to start looking at those frameworks and asking, what could we eliminate, reduce, raise, or create? It's one simple framework. But we have the 6 paths to think differently about an industry. So you ask different questions that you understand. What are the pain points of an industry, the points of intimidation, the major nuisance of an industry that companies in the industry take for granted? But when you ask different sets of questions, they become revealed. So we're really excited. We've worked with many red ocean companies through over time. They all come into it thinking, do we need new talent? We're not even capable. They start working with the tools and frameworks, and they start discovering all new answers. And to be honest with you, they come out a person that's almost full of life, excitement, and they slap themselves on the back and they say, I never knew how creative we were. And they often start thinking, we never knew how many things our industry does that turns off buyers. So it's a very exciting process. So again, I encourage people to look at the tools and frameworks.
So Renee, what would you suggest people do if they'd like to start acting on some of these tools immediately?
So that's a great question, Anna. I think that if a company wants to start in a casual way to explore what Blue Ocean Strategy and some of these frameworks might be able to do for them and their business, A good way that we usually suggest companies to do is to get their people together, usually on a Friday afternoon when people are more relaxed, have some beverages and some food, keep it light, and use the first tool, which is what we call the strategy canvas. And the strategy canvas is on one page, simple one-page analytic visual, which has on the horizontal axis, you write all the factors you compete on and invest in your industry. And on the vertical axis is what do buyers get? A low level or a low level or high level of that offering. And then you plot yourself and your major competitors across that. And when you do, what you typically find out is that, our strategic profile looks a lot like the competition. So you begin to first have a realization that we are in a red ocean. Maybe we put ourselves there and we don't really have a strong trajectory for growth. And then the second thing, once you have that impetus and realization that we do need to change and we understand what the competition is doing from a high level, from buyer's point of view, second thing is understanding, well, who are all the customers we could use for growth if we want to grow? And for that, we have an analytic tool called the 3 tiers of non-customers. Most people know who their customers are, but they're clueless of who they could pull into the industry that is not there now. So there's 3 basic types. There are occasional users of your industry who could become much more frequent users. There are people that refuse your industry. So if I play golf, I might have thought about tennis, but I chose golf. And so I'm a refusing industry to tennis. And my question is, why did I refuse it? And then the third are unexplored customers. And I would want to get a hold on who are all these non-customers. Once I've identified that with my team on a Friday and we see there are all these people potentially, I would just pull the last simple analytic, which is called the eliminate, reduce, raise, create grid. And it really in that grid, it talks about what factors that we compete on should we eliminate or reduce that the industry is long focused on, and what could we raise and create to stand apart. And I would say, what would, to win any one of these 3 tiers of non-customers, what would we need to eliminate and reduce in that current strategy canvas or raise and create to pull those customers into our industry? So what I want to do is give our team a challenge. I want everybody over the next 4 weeks to go out and have some conversations with these people that are either in tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 and tell them, this is what our industry does. What's the reason you refuse our industry? What do we need to eliminate and reduce that really drives you crazy about us, you don't like, or frustrates you? And what could we raise or create? And just come and let's get together on another Friday afternoon in 1 month and let's share our ideas. What they do in finding this is that, first of all, they get to meet the market, which is insightful to begin with. Many people never meet the market to ask. If they even meet it, it's just to sell, not to ask and learn. But after about 4 weeks, they usually come back and they say, it's interesting. When we talk with customers, we started to find out we do these 2 or 3 things that people find really intimidating in our industry or really frustrating in our industry or too complicated, and they don't like it at all. And they think that, they wish that were eliminated. And you say, it's interesting. Maybe if we eliminated that, some of these people might come. And they say, but, by the way, there was an interesting 1 or 2 other points. They started saying, like in the case of, why people refuse golf, nobody can even hit the ball. The club head is too small. It's so hard. If they made the club head bigger in golf, maybe we'd play golf because I could at least hit the ball, feel good about it. That's what tennis does. Interesting. So maybe if we raised 1 or 2 factors, we could start doing that. Then you say, let's look back at our strategy canvas that we drew. What does that mean? And they start seeing how they can start shifting what they do. Does that mean they're going to create a blue ocean based on that right away? No. But what they start to see is some of the weaknesses of the industry that have long gone hidden and some of the ways to start shifting that curve and moving the trajectory and pulling in new customers. But more than that, what it does is it gives the organization confidence that there are opportunities out there. They can think differently, and they didn't realize how much they just move in lockstep with everyone else and assume things should be done because it's always been done and others do it. And that creates an appetite in an organization to start to think differently. But more than that, it usually gives them clues right away on 1 or 2 factors to eliminate, to drop the cost structure right away and simplify things, and 1 or 2 things to raise to stand apart. They might not get a blue ocean, but they're going to start sailing from the red to the blue. And I think that creates a lot of excitement, a lot of fun, and it starts creating an appetite in an organization to do things differently and to have the confidence that even us red ocean thinkers with tools and frameworks can think differently. And so that's what I would suggest. And, now since you're a Tony Robbins audience, it gets me really excited because I think that's what Tony does so brilliantly with people, right? He shows people you can change anything in your life if you have the right mindset, but you have tools and frameworks to help you get there. And I think that's what this process does. So I would encourage everyone, Friday afternoon, get your people together, have fun, draw your strategy canvas, one page, see what the industry does. Then think about and identify who are the non-customers you could pull, and then go to the market, few simple interviews, and ask what could we eliminate or create to get you to come to our industry. And that's going to set you on the path to starting to sail towards the blue. And then, of course, read the book in full.
Great. So how can these businesses ensure that the blue ocean they are creating will unlock a commercially compelling blue ocean, right? How can they test to see if people will buy?
Great question, Anna. That's a critical issue because many times when you talk with companies, they get a total misconception. They think innovation is doing something just different, and the different is not always linked to value. So we really talk about value innovation. Is your innovation linked to a leap in value for buyers? Does it make it simple, easy to use, reduces the risk, more friendly, more productive for them, more environmentally friendly? How do you make people win in a very practical, whether it's a B2B or B2C customer, right? That's very critical to understand what you talk about to unlock a commercially compelling market. Often also with organizations, they think, oh, if we don't have a lot of bells and whistles, we're not creating a blue ocean. But often blue oceans are created by dramatic simplification, like dry bar, focusing only on, creating blow dries. Forget about haircuts and coloring and permanence. It's just blow drying, right? Simplification to create a blue ocean. So one is an understanding that it's value innovation, not blue ocean. But the second thing, again, I go back to tools and frameworks. In our book, we have what you call the Blue Ocean Idea Index. Very simple. People should not get intimidated by it, but it gives you a series of questions to say, is there a compelling reason for people to buy the product? You want to first test that we're not creating something that's different that has no need in the marketplace. So that's first. And the second, it says, are we strategically pricing it to capture the mass of buyers so they not only want it, but they can actually afford to buy it? Then third, it comes down with a series of questions to say, if we deliver that value at that price, are we able to make money on it without jeopardizing the strategic price? So do we have a profit model that we can win on, right? So when Swatch came up with a fun stylized watch, they knew they wanted fashion statements and color and brightness. They knew what the price point had to be, which continues to be very aggressive. But then they said, how do we make money on it? And that's what led them to switch from metal and leather to plastic, that switched from 150 internal movements to 1/3 the movements internally to use plastic injection molding. They changed that entire process in the profit proposition. So we show you how to ask those questions. Very important for your business. And last one, we just signal, make sure there's no adoption hurdles in the marketplace that could get in the way when talking to your sellers of your product today to get them on board to be excited about your new offering. So we have an analytic to work through it. The word analytic shouldn't intimidate anyone. They're powerful, simple, compelling questions that often people forget to ask when they're thinking about creating a new market because they're looking for what's wild and different. But what you're looking for really is what leads to a leap in value to buyers and to your company. So that's what we would say to that, Anna. It's go to the Blue Ocean Idea Index in the book, dive into it and start asking those questions. And by the way, if you can't answer yes, it shows you how you need to go back and rethink things. It may be that your idea is just 20% off from unlocking a blue ocean, and it'll teach you how to probe further and refine your idea better so you can actually say yes to value, to price, to profit, and to adoption in the marketplace. So as you can maybe hear from my voice, I'm really excited by it because we work with companies again, and it's a powerful tool for any organization to use, regardless of the employees that you have in it.
With some of the companies that you've worked with, what have you witnessed as being some of their major challenges that they face as they go through either the process or the execution of their strategy?
Well, in our current book, of course, we talk about there's four major hurdles, right? That any organization, large or small, needs to be aware of. One is that cognitive hurdle. Do we need to change? And that's what that exercise I just talked to you about, getting people, don't tell people we need to change, we're stuck in the red ocean. Let them draw the strategy canvas and come to the realization on their own, right? Adults love to self-discover where they are instead of being told. So if we're different, the strategy canvas will reveal it. But if it shows we look like everyone else, then we're a me too. And then you ask the question, will that get us to profitable growth? And if not, the answer will be no, we're stuck in the middle. Then maybe we do need to change. And the other one is resource hurdle. Well, we don't have resources to change, right? And, in our book, we talk about how do you find your cold spots in your organization, and everyone has them. You're investing lots of resources due to historical reasons in areas or activities that take up a lot of money but have limited impact on performance. And then how do I redirect those to areas that have high potential impact for performance but are resource starved? So how do you shift resources in an organization? Motivational hurdle, how to get people to be excited? How do I leverage kingpins in an organization to get people on the same page with you? And of course, political hurdle. Some people will be afraid of the future. How do I find the angels that are excited about the idea for change and get them to support me, build a big coalition, understand who will fight me and why, and build arguments to show why those are not objectively in the interest of themselves or the organization. So we really talk about those four hurdles in there. But overall, I want to say that the process is really built on fair process. And I think in the way the process is built, a lot of those barriers start to come down just by involving people in the entire discovery process themselves. So when you see it and hear it yourself, you can't forget it, actually.
So what are some next steps for you? Is there anything new that that you're working on with Chan or with your team of researchers that we should be looking out for?
So we do have a book we're working on, and I'm really excited about it for your audience because it's even more getting down to how do you really move your company. If I'm a Main Street business, if I'm a small company, a medium company, from the red ocean to the blue, how do I transition my people, the psychology of my organization, my resources to get there? So we're working really on that, and it's going to be built on examples of companies, nonprofits, small companies, large established organizations, even some large governments that have applying these ideas. So that's what we're working on, but I can't say more than that at this point. But we'll look forward to hopefully working with you and Tony Robbins on bringing these to your audience in the future.
Absolutely. And yeah, everybody, I would encourage you to go check out the website, buy the book. Is it just blueoceanstrategy.com, Renee?
Yeah, it's blueoceanstrategy.com, and in it, and I just say, Anna, there is that newsletter in it. And, one thing I really encourage is if you're thinking you don't want to be in the red ocean, you do want to be in a blue, you want to break away from competition and stand apart, the newsletter really shares stories of direct firsthand interviews with companies that have been applying these ideas and what were their challenges. And a lot of them are small and mid-sized. And I think by reading stories and surrounding yourself with information of companies that are doing it, it will not only inspire you, but give you insight on what that would mean to your organization to change. So I'd encourage everyone to sign up for that newsletter and look into it.
Great. Thanks so much, Renee.
Well, thank you. I love being with you, and I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. I want to walk on a fire with him one day.
We can arrange that.
All right. Thanks, everybody. It was great speaking with you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Do you have the right mindset and skills to take your business to the next level? Business Mastery is the only event in the world created by Tony Robbins to prepare you to master the mindset and skills you need in business to elevate your game. A one-of-a-kind, immersive program, Business Mastery will allow you to understand the critical factors impacting your business, then refocus and realign with the strategy and psychology you need to compete and innovate in any economy. Remember, business success is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. If you're ready to learn and master the strategies to help you grow your business and stay competitive, then don't hesitate. Apply for the next Business Mastery program now. Learn more about the Business Mastery event at www.tonyrobbins.com. The Tony Robbins podcast is directed by Tony Robbins, hosted by Annie Yorg, and produced by Carrie Song. Brooks Loro is our digital editor. Tyler Culbertson is our media coordinator. Special thanks to Diane Adcock for her creative review. Our website is tonyrobbins.com/podcast, where you can listen to all of our episodes, read articles, and learn more about upcoming events. Copyright Robbins Research International.